Protesters from all around Los Angeles assembled to demonstrate against America's continuing involvement in Afghanistan and the rest of the Middle East. The protesters took over the streets to rally the anti-war support. Protesters say the U.S. war machine spends more than $400 million per day on this war, and they say military recruiters take advantage of students and poor, oppressed youth and sends them to die for Wall Street.
The generals and politicians admit that the war in Afghanistan is lost, that there will be a military retreat.
Mike Prysner is with Answer Los Angeles and a veteran of the Iraq War. Prysner says the U.S. is unwilling to take responsibility for another military failure like Vietnam. He says instead of admitting defeat, the generals will embark on a multi-year withdrawal that will sacrifice thousands of more lives.
The U.S. mission in Afghanistan is in crisis, which means that its mission in the entire region is in crisis. But the U.S. government feels that this level of death and destruction is acceptable to the U.S. public.
Protesters say they're concerned about further warmongering in the Middle East. They say U.S. politicians are knowingly spreading lies about countries like Iran and Syria in order to boost their political agendas.
The rhetoric from the U.S. and Israel about Iran specifically is collectively known to be a universal lie. The Iranians, since 1979, have suffered sanctions and embargoes by the U.S.
Protesters marched across Hollywood Boulevard to an Army recruiting center. They say the goal was to shut the center down and broadcast the truth about what recruitment really means.
To look at recruiting stations and call them for what they are. They're outposts for the wealthy, and they're outposts to take our friends and our family members and our loved ones and send them to die in a war that the wealthy have created, that the wealthy have waged, that they're not willing to partake in.
Protesters are also demanding an end to U.S. intervention in Syria, which they say is creating turmoil and costing lives. They want to allow the countries of the Middle East the right to determine their own future without the involvement of corrupt U.S. politicians and U.S. politics. Ross Frazier, Press TV, Los Angeles.